Catus, Maximus here. This is going to be a little bit of an awkward video because it's a telescoping ladder, and I don't have a good place to really demonstrate this, but we'll certainly talk about it a little bit. It's a free promotional product from Vevor. I appreciate them sending it to me. Also, the last product I received, and then there were some economic changes, we'll say, here in the middle of 2025. So the prices might be a little bit in flux. The first batch sold out pretty quickly. So these are these telescoping ladders. This happens to be a larger size, so this is 20 feet or 21 and a half feet. And the big difference between, there's like three sizes. The smallest size has less rungs. The medium size has the same number of rungs, but they don't rise up quite as far. In this case, there's actually quite a long spacing between the rungs of this ladder. And that's kind of the oddball thing about this 20-foot one, is you have this 15-inch step spacing instead of the, I guess, the usual 12-inch step spacing. So this is how these work. They just have these telescoping. This is a stainless steel one, and this is, I think, why they're trying to promote this one is because it's actually kind of unique, really made for more moist environments, marine environments, that type of stuff. We actually have more of a concern of these are usually aluminum, of corrosion issues with aluminum and getting jammed up. So it's one of the nice things about it. Stainless steel is pretty resilient, and I kind of like it better because if you ever overload one of these, you'll feel it starting to bend, and you'll at least be able to have more of an opportunity to rescue yourself. So when you pull it up, you just have these little switches here, and they just go into little holes into these tubes. We can see it only dropped down so far. This is about how far the tube is nested in, so it's not too bad. There's actually YouTube videos of somebody who tested a bunch of these when they were all lying sideways, and they are surprisingly stout, to tell you the truth. And that was probably one of my biggest concerns, is you do see these kind of flex, and that's kind of the deal with them. You really want to make sure that you have a real good firm footing where you don't have any issues with the ladder wanting to slide out from under you, but of course that's true with all ladders. I will say that there are some lesser and some slightly better designs of these telescoping ladders. There's also some really premium ones out there. But these are full tube structure steps, not U-shaped, so they're a little bit stronger, and they help kind of keep everything a little bit more rigid. All riveted construction. It even has a little carry handle and a strap. One of the things that's a little bit more unique about this one is it has these little, and they can be rotated around. You can pull them out. They are these little hooks. It's the easiest way to describe them. They're full steel tang through there, and I think this is really for, one, to help with storage because you can hang it somewhere. Two, if you're actually using it to step over and climb like onto a roof, then they just provide some some extra handles, and thought that was just a bit of an interesting feature. Now, I think one of the biggest Achilles heels with one of these ladders is, of course, if I want to just use it for a 6-foot. I can't just take and grab both of these sections, because what I have here is I have like this huge giant step that I have to attempt to climb over, and so that makes them a little bit funky. Mainly because you'd have to do something like this where you raise it up in these sections so that you don't have such a giant first step. But then in that situation, see these clips, they don't quite seat all the way. You can see here when you pull it up and they do fully seat, they click all the way over. And so that's, I guess one of the complications of these. Still pretty heavy overall. Now, one other thing that these do have a distinct advantage of, if somebody made a point, is that particularly if you're a service technician or doing remodeling, is there may be situations, particularly like electricians and HVAC and that type of stuff, where you have to get up to a reasonably tall ceiling, but you can't drag in a 10 or a 12 foot or an extension ladder because, going through offices, etc. where it's too awkward to bring in a fixed ladder. And so one of these is invaluable in those situations where you can bring it in. Maybe you're working in a smaller office or storeroom, where you can bring one of these in, and then you can extend it up into a ceiling to work on stuff where you need a 12-foot ladder or something, and be able to extend it up after you carry it in. They're definitely invaluable for that. Also, these larger ones have a little bit wider of a base, so they're a little bit more stable. This is rated for 150 kilograms or 330 pounds, which is a respectable amount of weight. You know, a 4-star heavy-duty rated Werner ladder or Louisville will be rated for like 375 pounds. So it's definitely decently strong. So that's my little video about this ladder. You know, one of the other things I like about getting a bigger one of these is if you're just getting onto like a first-story roof, it's actually a lot safer because you can have a ladder like this where you can extend it up and it can be proper. It's not shooting over the roof by 10 feet or something like that. You know, kind of like an extension ladder where you can get it to rise up, you know, 3 feet over the roof or 4 feet, so you can safely get on and off the ladder while still fulfilling the purposes of both long and real short ones. And this getting up to 20 feet, that's pretty high up in the air. Anyway, really appreciate everybody who's been watching. See you next time.